many of us have heard of weapons of mass destruction here? Anybody? Alright, so for those of you that are not familiar with weapons of mass destruction, please pay attention because you never know if you could ever experience an attack of chemical warfare. So that being said, today I'm going to alert you about the harm of chemical weapons of mass destruction, which include mustard gas, sarin, and taboon. Mustard gas was first used, first to start off with mustard gas, it's made of 4 different components, which is going to be carbon, sulfur, chlorine, and hydrogen. It was first used in World War I by the German Army in September 1917. It's odorless and it takes about 12 hours to take effect. However, if you are exposed to it for too long, it could actually kick in within the next hour or two. So symptoms of mustard gas, or also known as sulfur mustard, is redness, itching of the skin, and pus-filled blisters, and shortness of breath. Also messes with your digestive tract, which could also, you could urinate yourself without even knowing it. So here are some effects of it here. You can see mustard gas over here. It gets its name pretty through the yellow gas that comes out. Over here, you can see other effects, and it's possible to survive an attack with mustard gas just by seeking medical attention. But if you are exposed to it for too long, the effects can be pretty gruesome. Over here, you can see this guy got attacked with. This is a before picture of him and after. So it kind of just disfigured his face over here with the chemical burns. Mustard gas also damages DNA. So, say you won the first battle of surviving the mustard gas. The next step is hoping that you do not die from cancer over here. So that is mustard gas. The next one I'm going to talk about is going to be sarin, also known as GB, also known as the poor man's neutron bomb. So it gets its name because it literally kills all living things. It's a human-made chemical classified as a nerve agent. It's clear, colorless, and has no taste. So you really don't even know if you're being affected by it. It's made in a liquid form, but it vaporizes into a gas. Symptoms can be, or you could be affected by it through the skin, inhalation, or absorption. It attacks the nervous system almost immediately and could cause death within a minute to 10 minutes. Lethal dose of this could be, it's 0.5 milligrams. So if you have a little bits on your skin, if you inhale a little bit of it, that could be an effect of it. We have this little mustard gas over here. So this is an attack of mustard gas. Notorious attack that was in, I'm not too sure how to pronounce this, is Halabaja in 1988, which injured about 65,000 people. Over here, unfortunately, you can see bodies over here. This guy's over here, mourning deaths over here. And then over here we have a picture and like a monument of this picture over here, which is a guy trying to save his baby, and unfortunately they both are deceased, asphyxiated. And there's a monument over here. So 65,000 people were injured in that attack. 10,000 were severely injured, and 5,000 people died from the attack. And according to the Huffington Post, that were interviewing people, people were basically dropping like flies. So people were just like asphyxiated. So my last one is going to be taboon, which is another chemical weapon. It was first synthesized in 1936. It has a fruity odor. Symptoms of this could include runny noses, tightness in chest, experience drooling and nausea. More severely could be involuntary vomit, defeating urination, and can even sink people into a coma. It attacks your neurological system. So basically what that means is that basically how it works is your muscles will continue to contract and contract and contract. So if you've ever had like a really big cramp on your leg or something, you just wanted to stop, well, this will continue to happen, cramping up your insides as well, which eventually leads to asphyxiation. So according to Matthew Melson, a Harvard biochemist, states that it is easy to make taboon. It consists of phosphorus oxide chloride, dimethyl ethyl alcohol, and potassium cyanide. So it basically incapacitates your diaphragm and your insides, and you basically just die. So here we can see the effects of what that nerve agent does. This is a little bit of chemistry over here for those of you that are chemistry majors. And yeah, so in conclusion, these three chemicals are really important, just in case we were ever attacked by a chemical in chemical warfare. At least now you know the idea of chemical warfare. And also, some people like to say, like, you know, I'd be scared of dying by like drowning, or I'd be scared of dying by like, you know, burning alive. Well, personally, I'd be scared of dying by a chemical because you literally suffer throughout your whole day. So that's my presentation.
So Natalie, what did you think?
I thought it was interesting. Like the central idea I got out of your presentation was identifying weapons of mass destruction, and two things that I thought were good aspects was that you were pretty engaged with the audience when you first introduced the topic, and you were pretty good at explaining like in your own like words of like the effects of like each poison and like situation stuff like that. And two things that I think you can improve on is like when you showed the pictures that you weren't like fully facing the board, it kind of like affected like how I don't know, it just like I can't like really hear well because you're just facing that way. And then just transitions, and yeah, the visuals are pretty effective, and yeah, good job.
Well, the rhetorical question is an attention device. That's a little thin, but it's okay. You definitely tell us what the subject matter is. There's actually a more specific subject matter than WMDs. It's a specific type of WMD, chemical weapons, and I think that you could maybe make that a little bit clearer that that's going to be the focus in your purpose statement. There's a little bit of a preview because we know that we're going to be talking about various types of chemical weapons here. it wouldn't be that hard for you to step up one more and make that a little bit more specific as to what the supporting points are going to be, because it's pretty simple. This is a topical method of organization. You're talking about 3 types of chemical weapons, and you're going to talk about 2 that have been widely used in the past, or at least have been used in the past in military combat. And the third one, I'm not exactly sure if it has been used or if it's something that people are afraid of it being used and it's been largely, prohibited by international treaties, or if it's something that we're worried about terrorists operating and using, something along those lines. But it wouldn't be that hard to create a structure that leads us to those 3 topics in a pretty straightforward manner. You define each of the types of chemical weapons to some degree. There's some chemistry information there. There's a description of what all of the effects are. I didn't really hear any source citations for the material. I know you're getting this information from someplace, and so you ought to be able to provide us with a source for that information, and it was not in the presentation. The visuals are okay, although you have a tendency to, I think Natalie said it, to talk to the visuals a little bit. And there's one section where you were showing us all the pictures there for the sarin gas attack, and you literally become, I've used this phrase before, you become the narrator of the slideshow. It's like, and this slide says this, and then this slide shows this, and then this slide shows this. Instead of talking about the subject that you're talking about and you letting the slides fill that in, you're now talking about the slides, and that's not really what those visuals are supposed to do. They're supposed to supplement what you're talking about. Like I said, the organization's not that hard. It's topical in nature. You get the 3 types of gases that you're talking about. The visuals, I think you could use maybe a better image. There are better images available, I've seen them unfortunately, of the effects of mustard gas attacks on World War I veterans and that kind of thing. And the one that you had was okay, but it's not as clear as it could be. And of course, because it's included with other visual images on that slide, it doesn't have the same kind of effect because it's there the whole time. It would be a lot different if you started with the one slide that had the yellow colored gas, and then you talked about it and said, now, when you're talking about what effect does it have on people, and then you go to the slide that shows the before and after picture, I think that would have a much more dramatic effect and be a lot more interesting as a way for people to react to that particular subject. The last slide that you had on taboo, that seemed to have all of the symptoms or the degenerative issues that happen for the different types of gases on it. I think you probably could have used something like that on each of the points instead of kind of a collective one at the end. Keep it simple. Although some of them have similar kinds of effects, there were some distinct ones, and the distinct ones I think should definitely be separated a little bit by the different parts of the speech. Let's see. I think you're doing a lot of reading, and as it's already been pointed out, you have to turn away from the audience at regular spots, and that's a little bit problematic. And I'm always so enthusiastic when people finish, and so that's my presentation. That's like the Porky Pig exit of speeches, that's all, folks, and we've got to have something a little bit more, dramatic than that. And one of the reasons that people worry about these things is because they're not going to be limited to military applications. We're worried about them in other contexts, like terrorist attacks, for instance. What are we going to do if some group like Al Qaeda gets a hold of a bunch of sarin gas and just decides to go for a ride on the subways in New York City? That's going to be something to worry about. And here's what you're worried about. The negative visualization that you had there at the end, where you talk about, some people say, oh, the scariest thing is drowning. Some people think maybe falling off a building would be worse. But to me, the worst thing would be dying from a chemical attack, because not only do you know you're going to die, but you suffer the whole time that you're dying. That should be your end point.
No, it kind of was
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
All right. There you go.